Brandon Cruz of So Hideous, and you're watching PureGrainAudio. I think the best aspect of the new record was the fact that we kind of completed what the band set out to do initially from even the first EPs nearly 8 years ago. You know, we just didn't have the means, and I guess, you know, at the time, we just didn't really have the talent to put something together of that scale. You know, the first EP starts off with a cello and a violin, and then we did a quartet onto Class with Fallen Wish in 2011. And then with Last Poem, First Light, we had an ensemble somewhere in the teens, and, you know, it started to get bigger and bigger. But with Laurestine, you know, we were really able to kind of hone our talents over the years and, you know, put in the work and make something work at this grand scale, because it was never going to be small. It was really trying to make it as big as possible, you know, without the weight and bloat collapsing on itself. So yeah, that's the best part of it. Actually, you know, it's one thing to talk about having that scale, you know, in jest, like, you know, fucking around. Hey, we're gonna put a 30-piece orchestra together. At first, it was 50, but that was a little bit too much, and that would have been way too expensive. So, you know, when it was like, okay, 30 is doable, even though it's still stretching and, you know, moving and just making everything happen so that we could actually close on that. It just feels really great to have completed something of that scale. The album title pretty much came from the idea of the flower, and that it grows and roots in some really harsh conditions. And then, you know, when you go down the rabbit hole and start researching more and more, it has all these you know, where the flower comes from. The verbiage has all this, you know, connotations of it's the deathless flower. I think you know, on one of these like geeky flower, what are the meanings behind all plants kind of website, it was Laurestine was I die if neglected. And, you know, tying it into the whole concept of the record with, you know, this sort of visual afterlife, if that's what you want to believe in, or if you want to take the scientific angle of it, and, you know, basically someone secreting all these hormones and, you know, their body putting them in a drugged out state before they die. You know, whatever way you want to look at it, it was appropriate. And the flower and the woman named Laurestine just kind of represented what the protagonist was searching for on his journey until he goes to the source, until he shuts down peacefully, or, you know, however we want to do it. We started off the record, actually, even though he's dying, he's opening his eyes. And then when the record's finished and he finds Laurestine, the last lyrics are, "We closed our eyes and slept." So it comes full circle. And it was important just to have that sort of, that visual element, that one thing that could just typify the narrative. And it was that Laurestine flower. The primary challenge is really getting the sheet music together. You know, it's one thing when the four of us get together in the band and we kind of do our little punk band spiel where, you know, I'll have the songs written on piano and then we try to hear how they sound and then how everyone's going to add their elements to it, you know, or how dynamically we're going to change it. Where's it going to get loud? Where's it going to come down? But, you know, in writing for this larger ensemble, we have to make it so that it seems like both sides of So Hideous are inextricably linked. It can't just be, you know, some rock and roll band is doing string trills on top of it. And then also there are other bands who are just using the strings for texture on top of it. Like the strings are just there adding to the chord progression. But for us, we're trying to have actual melodic components to it and have it be just as strong, where if you took the band away, it could still stand on its own. It would still have legs, whether you wanted to put it, you know, as part of a soundtrack or just listen to some orchestral record. So yeah, I think the challenge is making it stand on its own, but still be seamless when it integrates with us. And then writing for 30 pieces, you know, it's a lot different than writing for 4 guys. That's sometimes, in a lot of ways, we're writing the same record twice, because I write the sheet music first and then we play as a band, and then depending on how we alter the music as we record it, as we play it live, of course you speed up, you slow things down. then I have to go back and change the sheet music. So there's just kind of a lot of, it's very circuitous. So yeah, that creates its own challenges, but when it's done, it's really rewarding. It feels great. Incidentally, that was the reason that the band started. It was initially to try to be a foray into film and television scoring when it was just a one-piece bedroom project. And then slowly the idea came, well, what if we had that? And then these really abrasive vocals on top of it. So it's kind of these two worlds colliding, where you have these really, really nice minimal, Arvo Pärt style strings and someone just basically losing his shit over it. And then you start getting band members, and through time, it just gets louder and louder, and you start, you enjoy the way it sounds in a room, very organic, rock and roll band style. Because it's one thing to be playing around with DAWs and plugins and interfaces and getting your best approximation for what people sound like in a room, but it felt really special when we all got together in a room and we were able to have it be just as powerful with just the four of us. So, I mean, that's still absolutely an aim and something that we're working toward, and something that we very much want to continue working toward. We just need the opportunity.